All right, let's get right into it. Today we're looking at a tiny strip of water that has become ground zero for a conflict threatening the entire global economy. It's a wild story about geography, high-stakes military chess, and yep, the price you and I all pay for energy.
So if you've been wincing every time you fill up your car lately, you are definitely not alone. Oil prices have just blown past $100 a barrel, and man, it is hitting everybody's wallet hard.
But listen, this isn't just your typical market fluctuation. No, the world's energy supply is being deliberately squeezed. Someone is applying a chokehold to the world's oil trade, and it's happening right now.
So what's the source of all this economic chaos? Get this, it's a strip of water just 21 miles wide. That's it. So the big question is, how on earth can a place so small cause such a massive global mess?
Okay, let's break this all down. To really get what's going on, you have to understand why this one particular spot, the Strait of Hormuz, is so incredibly important.
So in military and economic speak, a place like this is a classic choke point. Just think of it like a bottleneck on a highway. It's a super narrow passage that tons of global trade has to squeeze through. And because it's so narrow, it's super vulnerable. It's a simple rule. If you control the choke point, you control the flow.
And the flow we're talking about here is just staggering. Normally, a full 1/5 of the entire world's oil supply passes through this one little strait. So, as you can imagine, when that gets shut down, the economic shockwaves are felt instantly, everywhere.
So the question is, who controls this choke point? Well, let's look at the map. Iran, just because of where it sits, has this huge natural advantage. It has effectively turned the entire strait into a fortress.
And at the very heart of that fortress is Keshm Island. There's a quote from Al Jazeera that just nails it, calling the island Iran's unsinkable aircraft carrier. And that's exactly what it is, a permanent, immovable military platform sitting right at the mouth of the Gulf.
And here's why Keshm is such a game changer. First, it's the biggest island there, so it physically looms over the entire waterway. But the really wild part is what's reportedly happening underneath the surface. We're talking about vast underground missile cities, massive networks designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to control or, if necessary, completely close the Strait of Hormuz.
So what's the playbook here? Iran knows it can't go head-to-head with a superpower like the US, aircraft carrier versus aircraft carrier. So they have to play a different game, one that leverages their unique position to their advantage. And that game is called asymmetric warfare. It's a fancy term, but the idea is pretty simple. You don't fight fire with fire. Instead, you use unconventional tactics, like swarms of small boats or hundreds of sea mines, to overwhelm a bigger, more high-tech enemy by hitting them where they're weakest.
And this really illustrates their 1-2 punch perfectly. From a distance, they've got this huge arsenal of ballistic missiles to keep you at bay. That's the deterrence. But up close, they can unleash swarms of these small, super-fast attack boats, designed to just get in your face and overwhelm a big warship's defenses.
When you put it all together, what Iran has built is this incredibly layered defense system. The whole point is to make any adversary think twice about entering the strait. The military calls this anti-access/area denial, or A2/AD. And it's exactly what it sounds like. They can throw everything at you. Fast boats, mines, drones, missiles, to create a massive keep-out zone around their coast.
So this creates a huge problem, right? The strait is closed, the global economy is in a panic, and the United States is left looking at its options. And honestly, none of them look good. It's a truly high-stakes dilemma.
Basically, there are two main military choices on the table, and both are just loaded with risk. Option 1, land troops to seize those Iranian islands. The problem, those soldiers would be sitting ducks for a relentless storm of missiles and drones. Okay, so option 2, a massive naval mission to escort commercial ships through. But to pull that off, you'd need a huge number of allied warships, and the US is particularly short on critical ships like minesweepers.
And experts are very clear about the human cost of that first option. Emma Salisbury of the Foreign Policy Research Institute puts it pretty starkly. She warns that any attempt to put boots on the ground would likely, in her words, go horribly wrong and result in a lot of casualties. But here's where the story takes a really interesting and, frankly, scary turn. This conflict is no longer just about controlling one choke point, not by a long shot. It has escalated into a direct energy war, and the battlefield is now way bigger than just the Strait of Hormuz.
What's happening is that both sides are now going for the jugular.
They're striking right at the heart of each other's economies. We're seeing this dangerous cycle of tit-for-tat attacks on the very oil and gas facilities that are the economic lifeblood for both Iran and its adversaries.
And these maps really show you how far this is spread. Look on the left, you've got strikes hitting deep inside Iran's energy sector, even targeting South Pars, one of the biggest gas fields on the planet. And then on the right, you see where Iranian missiles have landed inside Israel, hitting critical infrastructure like the Bazan oil refinery.
So the big takeaway here is that the battlefield just keeps getting wider. And it's not even just about oil and gas anymore. Iran has also threatened to attack major tech infrastructure in the Gulf. We're talking data centers for companies like Google, Apple, and Microsoft, because they see them as part of their adversary's technological ecosystem.
And that's where we are now. It really brings it all into focus, doesn't it? A conflict that started in a narrow strait now jeopardizes global energy supplies, critical shipping routes, and even the digital infrastructure that powers our modern world.
Which leaves us with one really unsettling question. With the stakes this high and with so many pathways for this to escalate, is there any off-ramp? Is there any way to de-escalate this conflict before it spirals into a truly catastrophic global energy war?